This morning on The Young and the Restless, Abby responds to Devon. Tucker interrogates Victoria, and charges are leveled against the GCAC. Summer begins to cry at the event, and Nick and Kyle comfort her. The phrase, "Phyllis is gone," is repeated by Chance. According to him, the driver swerved to avoid hitting a deer, and he also confirmed that all passengers were killed. Daniel exclaims with shock, "So, she's truly gone." Danny embraces his son and pulls him close. Sharon is asked if she's okay by Chance. With her eyes watering, she sobs, "It's a lot." She is reminded of the night Ray died as well, but she is strong and can focus on worrying about Phyllis's family for the time being. Diane reveals to Jack that she kept hoping against hope that Phyllis would make it so she could be with her kids. "This is simply dreadful," Jack says. Jeremy approaches Diane head-on and orders her to quit acting agitated. "It's perfect. This is what you wanted." At the society bar, Victoria tells Tucker that he can accomplish whatever he wants in life if he sells McCall Unlimited to Newman. Tucker asserts that freedom is a mentality. Victoria recommends that he try his hand at racing again. Basically, he's done with it. According to Victoria, he could win Ashley over with a few rare emeralds. She's impatient, she says, and wants them to just be honest about everything. "What exactly are you looking for? Can I make you an offer you can't refuse?" Why Smog made London an early adopter of electric vehicles. After having some sex, Devon and Abby canoodle at his apartment while he prepares a nightcap for them. He inquires as to her train of thought. Abby responds with a grin that she is merely considering whether or not she could settle down here. At the banquet, Jack explodes at Stark and yells, with the probable exception of you, about how devastated everyone in the room is by Phyllis's death. He orders Jeremy to leave, but the crook insists he won't go anywhere until he learns what happened to his wife. Kyle decides it's time to rescue Summer. Nick assures his daughter that he can always be reached by phone and that he loves her. Diane apologizes to Summer as they leave. Summer looks away and glares as Kyle embraces his mom. At the club, Tucker inquires of Victoria as to what it is about McCall Unlimited that she finds so appealing. A heavy burden of debt has doomed the business. There's a part of him that wonders whether this is all about her and not his business at all. Devon and Abby talk about how Chance would respond to her moving in at his place. She thinks he'd have a tough time with it. She continues to harbor remorse. And so does Devon, but they've both done what they could to make amends with those they've wronged. Abby admits that Chance was correct in one respect. Her feelings for him have never been as simple as friendship. It's not hard to understand for Devon. "I adore you." Jeremy at the gala is skeptical of Chance's statement that Phyllis is dead. Knowing it to be a trap, he put him in jail for theft. He requests the investigator look into the circumstances behind his wife's death. In front of everyone in the room, she was attacked, her life was threatened, and she blacked out. "I need help figuring this out." Stark goes outside for some fresh air. As Daniel walks up to Chance, he exclaims, "Nothing here makes any sense." He has a sinking feeling that something isn't right. Chance meets up with the EMT again in the foyer and inquires as to the location of Phyllis's blood storage. The man explains that, as is customary, the item was stored in a metal container. They most likely brought it to the emergency room. Nick tells Sharon in the lounge that Summer was a wreck and that she wanted to go home, and Sharon agrees. He cannot believe she has remained. Sharon expresses her concern to Nick, saying, "What if I'm responsible for what happened to Phyllis?" Lauren suggested that the weakness she felt after her breakdown was a residual impact of her coma from many years before. After reassuring her, Nick muses, "But something led Phyllis to collapse tonight, or someone." Both Jeremy and Diane are the target of their gaze. They are curious as to whether or not Diane's beef with her is related. They discuss how awful Jeremy is and how Stark should be held responsible if it turns out Phyllis' death wasn't an accident. Victoria informs Tucker at the society that some of his sections are thriving and might be a goldmine. She thinks this may be a very lucrative business. Tucker is attempting to determine how she measures success in this situation. It doesn't look good for her that Victor wants to give the company to her hated younger brother. Victoria doesn't need Adam's help with McCall because she has her own plans. Tucker is curious as to her strategy for defeating her dad. Jack doesn't want to leave the event and expresses his disbelief to Diane that Phyllis is no longer there. Diane is aware of how much he once loved her. Jack is concerned that Stark will go after Diane. She denies any malicious intent in her threat to Phyllis and accuses Jeremy of pickpocketing the ring and giving it to the redhead. It's Jeremy's word against Diane's. Jack points out, only Phyllis knows the whole truth. He plans to stay and gather information because he intends to use it to punish Diane. Diane sobs as she thinks about Phyllis attacking them in her dying moments, while Summer looked on. The poor girl will have nightmares about it. Kyle and Summer go into the Abbott house and Ashley asks if Jack is with them. She registers the concern on their faces and probes more for details. A distraught Summer sobs, "My mom is dead." Ashley can't believe it. When at Devon's, he explains his feelings for Abby and they discuss how Dom had a role in their relationship. Devon states that he emphasized the importance of family to him. He finally had everything put into perspective after being surprised with the tribute to Neil. She led him and Lily to safety. You've never abandoned me or anything like that. Devon has expressed interest in moving in with her and Dom. At the party, Danny inquires of Jack about Chance's current project. Jack is completely unaware. Danny is struggling to accept the reality that Phyllis is gone. Jack sighs, for that matter. For many years she has played a pivotal role in my life. Danny remembers that he kept Daniel away from her for a long time because he thought she was poisonous. He says they used to get along, but a recent talk shattered those hopes. Nick comes over and says that the three of them chatting about Phyllis wouldn't be lost on her. Jeremy approaches and says that they are grieving in vain over a woman they dumped. He states once again that he would not go until his wife is vindicated. Jack advises him to hand things up to the GCPD. The same GCPD that looked the other way when you and Diane tried to blame me for theft. Jeremy sarcastically asks, if he doesn't shut up, Jack will kick him out. Stark promises he will punish him and Diane for their actions. Victoria boasts to Tucker at Society that she is the CEO of Newman and can run the company as she sees fit, because she has dealt with her father for her entire life. Tucker doesn't think it's worth the trouble she'd cause to side with her. Victoria concurs. Trying to snag McCall might not be a wise move on her part. Ashley expresses her condolences to Summer at the Abbott residence and reassures her that she has the family's unwavering support. Phyllis had more potential than anybody else she knew, and her death has devastated her. They hadn't been friends for years, but in recent months they'd found a lot in common. Ashley assures Summer that her mother was a fearless person who would do anything to protect her family and friends. You were her whole world, you know. Summer sobs, admitting that she hasn't always been the best daughter. The unpleasant things don't matter, Ashley assures her. What does important is the love Phyllis had for her. Chance informs his police officer at the GCAC that they can't talk about the blood sample that may explain why Phyllis fainted. Perhaps they're looking into more than just an accident. While visiting Devon, he informs Abby that he and she must give Chance some thought. She is concerned that it may interfere with their visitation schedule. She ruined her life by cheating on her husband and moving on that soon. It moved so rapidly. Devon wonders if it's possible to experience pure joy too quickly. Abby is anxious about how others may perceive her. Devon doesn't want her to do anything that will put her in an awkward position, especially now that he knows that they can't take anything for granted. I don't want to prevent myself from experiencing joy because of the opinions of others. The past is the past, and he's looking forward to a bright future with you and Dominic. Another attempt is made by him. Would you consider rooming with me? While at the event, Sharon and Daniel have a conversation about how unreal it is that Phyllis is dead. That, Sharon reassures him, is a totally natural response. According to Daniel, it all just doesn't add up. He is aware of his mother's feelings toward Stark, so why should he think that the two were ever married? She seemed to lose consciousness and collapse, and then her ambulance was involved in a bizarre accident. Suddenly, he offers an apology. The car crash triggers memories of his girlfriend Cassie. The way he feels now is how Sharon remembers it, that nothing felt real. She points out to him that terrible things don't always have a rational explanation. Daniel relates to Sharon his final exchange with his mom. She believes it will eventually help him relax. He regrets having alienated her, as Daniel says. He lost his second chance to make amends. My mother's approach to me was strange. Like she knew something horrible was going to happen to her. Jeremy asks Diane, how did you do it? In another setting, Why did you murder my wife? Diane insists she was innocent. When Daniel reappears, he inquires about Stark's success in marrying Stark's mother. Has he attempted to blackmail her? Are you the one who killed her? Daniel screams. Stark is aware of how sad he is and how desperately he wants to place blame. Let me to lend a hand. He claims that after everyone else abandoned Phyllis, she found comfort in talking to him. If you're looking for someone to blame for her death, it's you. When Daniel tries to attack, Danny steps in to stop him. Abby visits Devan and tells him she requires some quiet time alone. He gets it, but he thinks it must be weird being at Chance's parents' house. To Abby, adjusting for Dom is a major concern. Devon is trying to avoid worrying the youngster. Abby is motivated to find a solution that benefits everyone, and I adore you too. The one thing she knows for sure is that once she's around him, she instantly feels at ease and at home. At the club, Tucker inquires as to whether or not Victoria still intends to purchase his business. Victoria has officially withdrawn her offer. He starts to wonder if they're trying to use reverse psychology on him. In response, Victoria informs him Newman's courtship with McCall is officially finished. Summer starts crying and goes upstairs to the Abbott residence. It's going to get a lot worse before it gets better, Kyle assures Ashley. Daniel yells at Stark at the banquet, I know you had something to do with my mother's death, and I'm going to make you pay for it. Nick and Danny restrain Daniel to prevent him from physically assaulting Jeremy, who says he is just as anxious to punish the perpetrator or perpetrators. Nick sees Chance and inquires if he has any news. When Chance offers his condolences, Jeremy abruptly interrupts, saying, Quit delaying. Is there anything fresh you can tell me? Chance says there's nothing new to discuss and everyone should go home. Stark says, there's more you're not telling us. This is intolerable. I won't leave until we get all the information. Chance warns that he'll take him in if he doesn't behave. Furious, Jeremy declares, this isn't over. As Chance expresses his condolences to Daniel, everyone leaves. The words, Daniel's not the only one you're going to have to worry about, are whispered by Jack to Stark. Chance promises his officer that they will soon know the truth about who, if anyone, tried to assassinate Phyllis.